Hey everyone, welcome to YouTube. Today I just had a little bit of time, so I wanted to answer your questions and really break you through. You know, it was funny last night. Um, I had somebody on my team text me and they said, "Do you ever get frustrated when people don't follow direction?" Um, and I said, "No, I never get frustrated with it because it only takes one moment for somebody to change. And I want this Q&A to be your moment where you change your life. It was one moment that changed my life. And so I'm very aware that when somebody is hungry and they just decide, that's when everything changes. No matter what's happened in the past. It doesn't matter where you've been. And right now, understand, if you haven't created the results you want this year, we still have so much time to break you free. The formula to break free is be great. You know, all you have to do is decide instead of wishing and hoping. Now, I want you to hear me when I say that. Most people are quitting on themselves every day. That's not you. That's not you from this point forward. But I want you to get away from the fixed mindset and I want you to sprint into the growth mindset. I was just working with a great client of mine, Lori Kinkart, and I was telling her this. And I said, the person in the growth mindset, they're the most dangerous people because even though their results haven't changed yet, they are a sponge and they're so hungry. So right now, I want to get you more urgent because that's what keeps people stuck. They're never urgent. And I want you to stop chasing your old self, stop blaming, and understand you can change. We're not fixed. Like, I can change every day. And that's what I've done for the past 18 years. And if I could do it, you could do it. I wish you guys would have met me 18 years ago. You'd see how many bad habits I had. You'd see how low my self-esteem was. But one moment changed my life. And I hope this is the one moment for you.
Okay, Arash, let's start with the first question. And everyone, please put your questions in the chat. First question here is, you've said that people don't have a money problem. They have an identity problem. Can you explain that?
Yeah, everything's identity. Money is an effect. Now, the people have money wounds. Well, what is that? Identity. People are obsessed with lack and limitation. Identity. That's what creates the money. You know, there was a time in my life where I was really struggling, but I was chasing money. That's why I was struggling. I was making the outside the cause instead of me. And one day I had this moment that just changed everything for me. And I came home one day and I was so frustrated. And I said, "You are the biggest fraud. You cannot even keep your word. You say you're going to do this, but you never follow through." At that moment, I said to myself, not in these exact words, but now it would be in these exact words, that stop doing it your way's not working. And I started chasing greatness. How I really changed my money wounds is I started getting honest with myself first, and then I started changing. And identity is everything, but you can't create a new identity unless you decide who you're going to be. So I will tell you, your problem is not money. And I know you're sitting there like, you don't know my bank account. I don't give a shit about your bank account. No, but that is based on the past. It's about getting so much better than you were the day before. It's about saying, I am done. And you've got to start operating with understanding. When you get convicted to how you're going to live your life, that's when the money's going to change. No strategy I'm going to give you is going to give you the result unless you change your identity.
Thank you. Okay, so Arash, you've helped clients make quantum leaps. What's the most common mindset block that disappears before that leap?
Number one, their belief changes right away. Well, how does a belief change? Because my superpower is teaching people how to believe in themselves. That is like my greatest strength. I can get somebody to shift their belief in moments. That is the number one thing. The number two thing is I get them to let go of a lot of things that are holding them back. And we have to first work on who they're not going to be. Until we eliminate that, you're going to keep operating from your old self. You're going to constantly keep operating from your old self. And that's why it's so important that I get them to bet on themselves. But I said, you don't even need to believe it. You need to bet on me. And I will never let somebody fail because I have my clients' backs. You know, yesterday I was doing a webinar. If you haven't seen it, you got to go watch it. I got so much positive feedback of it. It was super raw. But I told everybody there, how many people in your life do you have that have your back? I have my clients' back. I know my clients. I actually gave out my number on the webinar. That's how I am. You know, I am not a stuffy person. I am right there with you in the trenches, and I show you exactly what to do and how to do it. It's just direction. What I realized when I changed, what I was missing was the proper direction. Most people are binging YouTube. You might be one of them. And you may be binging my YouTube. Great. I'm glad it's helping you. But the change happens with the specialized action. And that's what I do with clients. And if you need help, text me. Text me. I will help you. My number is 602-486-2011. I will help you if you really want the help. And like I tell everyone, don't text me if you're not serious. But if you want help, if you want to level up, I will show you an absolute blueprint of what to do. Now, your job is to do it. The first thing I tell every one of my clients is from this moment, I want you to be the most coachable person I've ever worked with. My life changed when I became coachable. My life didn't change. There wasn't one action that changed my life until I was coachable and until I decided who I was going to become.
Okay, so Anna's asking, what's one daily practice that I can do to rewire my brain for wealth?
Number one, you got to program yourself for wealth. You have to get so good at only thinking about what you want. So this is what happens, Anna. Every time you think about what you want, your mind goes in that direction. But every time you think about what you don't want, your mind goes in that direction. And a negative idea is planted inside our subconscious mind 18 times faster. It is the best thing I could tell you. It is much better for you to eliminate the negative thinking than thinking more positively, because it just goes right inside of you. You just accept it. So you want to get so good at accepting ideas that are in harmony with what you want, which is abundance, it sounds like. But you've got to stop ordering poverty in your life. Every time you say you're going to do something and not doing it, poverty. You just ordered it in your life. Every time you're playing it safe, poverty. I want you to get out and bet on yourself before you're ready. And I will tell you, there were 5 moves that I made that took me from broken to massively successful. And the 5 moves were this. Number 1, I decided who I was going to be and who I wasn't going to be. Number 2, I changed my standards. Our standards in living them are the most important things you do. Number 3, I made the move before I was ready. You are not going to change in your comfort zone. You are going to create frustration. Number 4, I was urgent. Everything I did right away. Everything I did right away. And number 5, I became relentless with my discipline and my thinking. And that will break anybody through.
Thank you. So someone right now might be watching and they might be feeling unworthy of money because of past mistakes. It's a common thing that we're asked. How do they let that go?
Okay, you guys got to hear me. None of this has to do with money. If you want money, stop thinking it's money. It's always us. So right there is the block. Right there, you're chasing the wrong rabbit. I used to do it, so I understand it. But our job, if we want more money, is to think much better, to get in a great environment, to get the right mentorship. It is the most important thing I ever did. It's not about money. I used to think it too. And it was the biggest mistake I ever made was chasing money. And if you do that, you are never going to attract money. Money is shy and timid. It is attracted by the person we become. Oh, and people go, oh, Raj, it's just thinking. Watch what happens when you change your thinking. Watch what happens in your life. Everything changes. When I changed my thinking. Then because I changed my thinking, my actions started changing, my environment started changing, the mentors in my life started showing up. But most people do not value themselves enough to even invest in themselves, yet they'll invest in entertainment, but they never invest in the most important thing is themselves. So I want all of you to hear me here. If you want more money, you've got to become more. That's where the money comes.
Thank you. Arash, when did you first realize you had to outgrow that old version of yourself?
20 years ago. That's what got me into this. I remember when I got into this, the first book I ever read was The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer. And it really activated something in me. Then I started reading Think and Grow Rich. And I remember I just believed everything in the book. Now, for 3 years, I didn't do anything because I had a fixed mindset. I was just gathering the information. But I always say all the books that I started with, I thought I was going to them because I wanted more money, but really it activated my growth. So today, like if you worked with me in my environment, if you were in my office, I am obsessed every day about letting the last day go and only focus on what I'm doing. What is it that I have to do? I have to be better than yesterday, and that's what I focus on.
Okay, so what is kind of going on based on that when the person is like starting to walk in a new version of themselves? What's one thing you could like give advice right now that somebody could do?
What you have to do is every day do one thing out of your comfort zone. But what you've got to stop doing is the same thing that you've been doing that's getting you the same results. Like, until you get out of your comfort zone, nothing's going to change. Until you start valuing yourself, nothing's going to change. But you've got to stop defaulting to what's comfortable. Because all you're doing is creating the same life year after year. That's why I always say the same. Most people are living the same life 40 years in a row.
So what identity are you like personally stepping into now, even at this success? Like, what are you doing?
Well, I'm constantly stepping in to how I can help millions of people. I'm stepping in and deconstructing how I can help people faster. Like my company is in the top 1% of coaching companies, and I want it to be in the 0.1%. Because do you know how many success stories we have? We have thousands of success stories. I want to have 100 million success stories. That's what drives me. I have the money. Money doesn't drive me. Like, I don't sell programs. I change people's lives. That's what drives me. That's the identity. But I know I can become so much better. And how I know that, every year I've gotten so much better than the year before. Go watch me on YouTube a year ago and watch me now. You're going to see it for your eyes, but if I can do it, you can do it. See, most people never allow themselves. And you are killing your dreams by not getting the proper mentorship. I wish you knew how much I actually invested this year alone in my mentorship. See, I'm not asking anyone to work with me if they don't want to work with me, but I'm not asking somebody something I wouldn't do. Why do I have a mentor? Because someone in our lives always has a higher level of awareness. And I am obsessed with it because it is the greatest cheat code. But that's the identity. Last night, I was working with a mentor of mine till 9 o'clock at night. Why do I do it? New ideas, new fire, new passion. That's what activates your other version of yourself. If you think you're going to do it on your own, I'm telling you, you're completely wrong. And my mentor, Bob Proctor, used to tell me, you have to do it by yourself, but you can never do it alone. There's nothing more accurate. There's nothing more accurate. When I work with you, if we get to work together, what happens is we're a team. Individuals can be beat. Teams cannot be beat. Who is your team? And I want you to look at yourself and ask yourself, if you're holding back, why am I holding back? You're actually protecting yourself from who you want to become and you're going to be more frustrated. So you got to understand, why are people frustrated and stuck? Because they're doing the same thing over and over again, and their soul is dying for expression. Their soul is saying, come on, there's so much more for me to do. But they're not listening to it. So they keep themselves boxed in and constantly settle for less, instead of transforming themselves. Transforming is building yourself. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I was telling it on a group coaching that I did this week with my elite clients. I used to be very introverted. I used to be shy. And that wasn't working. And it wasn't like I had this moment where I said, I'm not going to be shy. I said, I've got to reinvent myself. I didn't know anybody who really made it happen hiding. I was a hider. And if I can do it, you can do it. But if you keep hiding, if you keep letting your bank account dictate all your thinking, you're never going to create and impact people how much you can impact them. Like I always brag about my wife because she's so amazing. But as I changed, she changed. And as I changed, my brother changed. And as I changed, everybody in my environment changed. You know, I've got a cousin of mine who was very resistant to this. Now he's obsessed with it. You have no idea when you change how much your world is going to change around you.
Great, thank you. All right, we have Miriam here. Hi, Miriam, one of our super fans. I find myself in my head a lot. How can I move into my heart more?
You got to be more convicted. The reason you're in your head is you're being a perfectionist. You're always overthinking. I want you to let loose. I want you to go after what you want with my mindset, with my conviction. How's it working being in your head, Miriam? You're too good. You know this. I know you. You're way too good. But got to get out of here and into here. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It isn't as a man keeps overanalyzing. I've never created something by overthinking, but I did it by moving before I was ready. Right now, what if I told you this, okay? What if I told you overthinking is costing you literally millions and millions of dollars every year? So maybe that's a good enough reason for you to stop doing it.
All right. Chris is asking, how do I stay mentally aligned when the results just aren't showing up?
Where are the results from? That's the first question. Where do they come from? They always come from your past. So all you're doing is measuring against an outcome that's already over. So what we do right now is going to create your future. So if you keep letting the results control you, this is what's going to happen. You're just creating from your past self, and it's a fulfilling cycle of doom. Thinking the same thoughts, the same feelings, the same actions, which are going to create the same results. So you've got to build this toughness in you and say, listen, I know the results aren't what I want, but I am committed to changing them. And I know they're from my past, so I'm not even going to look at them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new future. I'm going to become so much better than I was yesterday. I'm going to start operating with standards, and I am going to surrender to what Arash is teaching me. It works every single time. It works every single time. You know, I'll give you an example. I have this program called Legacy Builders, and it's a phenomenal program. And I got a message in there, and I taught everybody how I plan my week. I planned my week on Sunday of what I've already achieved on Friday, where, well, I have a great client, Richard Wilson. He decided to do what I said. And yesterday he sent a message to the group. He said, oh my God, I did exactly what Arash said, and I achieved my 3 sales by Friday, and it was Thursday he had already achieved them. But what he said next was brilliant. He said, when I committed to doing the work, that's when it changed this week. That's what it's about.
So, first of all, Paul Sullivan says hi.
Hey, Paul.
Amen King says, your content on YouTube is class act. I see Jill on here, another super fan, so thank you for being here. So what is the difference between growing incrementally and leaping exponentially?
Growing incrementally is bullshit. You got to understand that. That's in your comfort zone. Oh, I'm listening to YouTube, I'm listening to podcasts, so I'm doing better. That's a fixed mindset. How you grow exponentially is so simple. You make every decision today from the future you design. even when it's uncomfortable, because it's going to be uncomfortable. That's how you skip levels. See, here's the thing I want all of you to understand. I'm so passionate about this because when my life changed, I wanted to change everybody's lives. And I will tell you this, you have to understand who you are. You would never try to grow exponentially if you understood that your spiritual DNA is perfect. You're made in the image of God. And God doesn't do things incrementally. And so why are you? Because you're not coming from understanding who you are. When you're in your comfort zone, all you're doing is killing your potential. That's all you're doing. And that's why the single best thing, there's two of them that I will tell you that I did that changed my life almost immediately, was I would always behave before I'm ready. Readiness is a lie. You're never ready until you do a thing. Burn that in your mind. I want to say this again because I want you to understand this. Readiness is a lie. And number two, do everything right away. Do you know every time you procrastinate, you don't feel it in the moment, but your future is going to be sabotaged. But procrastination is what 98% of the world does because 98% of the world are drifters. So every time you procrastinate, trust me, I used to do it. So I'm telling you from what I learned, as you are just going to keep delusionalizing yourself. So what does procrastination do? It steals opportunities. I want you to make part of your standard. I never procrastinate. If I have an idea, I act on it right away. And you watch how fast your results are going to change.
Okay, Alex is saying, Arash, you talk about standard. Can you tell me the difference between a goal and a standard?
They're completely different. A goal is something you strive for. A standard is who you are. Don't ever confuse them. Standards are the most important thing we do every day. We live our standard. Goals are great. They give us a direction. So your goal is what you want to strive for. A standard is who you are. They're not even in the same ballpark. They are not even in the same stratosphere. You know, if everybody lived their standard, they would achieve goal after goal. But the standard is the cause, the goal is the effect.
So how do you coach someone who says they want wealth, but they're accepting average results?
You got to change that. You know, that's just an identity problem. That's a commitment problem. So that most people are not committed. That's why 98% of the world is drifters. You know, I'll watch people who start a program with me and then tap out. Oh, it wasn't a right fit. Bullshit. It wasn't a right fit. You've been doing it for 30 days. Then I have the other person who's like all in. That's what I'm talking about. We've got to stop operating from a fixed mindset. And I never care. If someone quits, they quit on them. And then, you know, the next time it's going to be easier to quit. And then their identity is one of, I'm a quitter. That's what they're telling themselves. You got to go because you didn't create your program overnight. You're not going to change it overnight. But you have to have the right direction, the right environment, and the right accountability. Who is holding you accountable in your life? That's the power. So if you're a quitter right now, I don't care how badly you want something, until you eliminate that habit, you're never going to get it. But all you do is one day at a time. One day at a time. But stop quitting. That is going to kill everything that you want. Forget about how long it takes. It's going to take as long as it takes. You speed it up with the intensity of your belief. How you collapse time is you believe bigger. And that's how you're going to bring time in such a short manner.
Okay. Jill is asking you. Hi, Jill. She's talking about your second book coming out. So that's exciting. She's asking if you can kind of give us like a sneak peek about it. And what's your approach to writing your book? Like, how did that come about?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not even sure I'm allowed to tell this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So, Jill, I wrote the book, and I went to record it for Audible, and I was so dissatisfied because it was me a year ago. So I called Mikey, and I said, call the publisher, I'm redoing the book. And Mikey's like, are you being over dramatic? She loves to call me over dramatic sometimes. And I said, I'm not releasing this book because this is my name and this was who I was a year ago. So I literally redid the whole book. The book was actually supposed to be released last March, I think, or April, or this March in April, but because it wasn't my standard, I literally redid the book. So this book, Transform, it's how to create personal freedom. It is 10x the depth of my first book, and my first book was awesome from the feedback I got. So I go in much deeper. You know, every level that I coach people is where they are to where they want to go is how I coach them. But this book is going to be amazing. And because it's going to be released, I don't know when it's going to be released. I think in a few months. But I'm so proud of the book because it's going to give you the real, where I really took you guys deep, that I'm super happy with it. But I will tell you this, and I will tell everybody this. I don't care where you are in the world. In November, I'm doing an event called Transform Live. I did it last year, but this year is going to be so much different and so much better because of what I've already prepared for. Get to Dallas. It's super inexpensive. It's $297, and you can't afford to be in that room. And I'm saying this for you. The room's going to be filled for me anyway. But I'm telling you, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade your belief so significantly by the time you end those 2 days. And you're going to be on my hip, and I'm going to give you a playbook. But if you're sitting there and you want more, get in that room. But don't wait. I was talking about procrastination earlier. You are going to keep doing it, but you got to be in the room where the magic is. See, if we just went in that room right now, there's no magic. People make it magical. But what I do in my live events, there's nothing like it. You can watch me from afar. When you watch me live and you see my team, everybody is a family. But I'm telling you right now, if you're in Dallas, you can't miss it. If you're in Norway, you can't miss it. I don't care where you are. But do you know, when you get in that room, when you decide and act on what I'm telling you, it's going to change your life.
Yes, Transform is amazing. So on that note with Transform, Arash, can you tell everyone about a client who was there and actually raised their standards, which you were talking about, and had a breakthrough?
Yeah, I talked to him yesterday. Garrett Brown. Garrett came to my Transform Live event, and in his words, he said, I was the most miserable I'd ever been in my life, but you did something in that event that activated me. And from that time, he got into my Quantum Leap coaching, and he is always around me now, and his life has completely changed. Like, if you watch this man, he was so, and these are his words, so if he's watching this, he'd be the first to tell you, he was miserable. He had no belief in himself, and he was frustrated. Within a month, he told me everything changed. But I have so many of those stories from that event. You know, that's why, you know, one speaker changed my life. One idea changed my life. But it wouldn't have changed my life if I wasn't in that room. I remember when my life started changing, I was in this event in the late 2000s called Create Your Own Economy. And I was sitting in the front row. And at the time, I was still working at a job that I didn't like. I was insecure. I was lost, and I was broken. One idea changed my life. And I remember my mentor, who wasn't my mentor at the time, he said, before I left, he said, I want you guys, every one of you, to decide that your life is going to change. You're not going to use this event that this was a great few days. And I remember sitting there, I'm like, that's me, that's me. I was so hungry to get better. That was me. And that's why I'm telling you, I go to events. I'm going to an event in August. I guess we are in August, in a couple weeks. Like, I'm flying to Idaho. Events change your life because of the proximity and the power.
Thank you. Jill said she loved the standard of excellence of your answering her question, and she pre-ordered your book.
Oh, great.
So she wanted you to know that.
Jill, I'm going to tell you, because this is Jill Ori, right?
Yeah.
Jill, have you bought your ticket to Transform Live? Because remember what happened at the last Transform Live for you. Don't hesitate. You've got to get in that room, my friend.
how would you teach someone to lead others from the standard they live, not just the words they say?
No, leadership is not about what you say. Leadership is never a title. Leadership is about holding the image of the people you're leading, not as they are, but who they can become. Leadership is about heart. It's about authenticity. Leadership is about bringing people up to your standard. That's what leadership is. And the best leaders lead by example. No amount of words is going to get people to move, but belief is, direction is, and putting proximity with your time. When you are giving people your time, that's the greatest value you could give as a leader.
Kind of talking about leadership, what's the cost of running a business with unclear or low standards?
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't run a business because your business is going to not work. A business, first of all, you have to have a great relationship and a great vision for your business. And you've got to have a love story with your business. Like, I have two families. My immediate family, my wife and my two kids, and then I have my boss family. It means so much to me, my business. And that's why it's not about getting money. I didn't get into business for money. I got into business because I learned from the best. I applied at the highest level, and I created my own specialized knowledge and direction. And business is about people. It's not about money. If you're going into business saying, I'm going to earn all this money, you're coming into it with the wrong intent. I want you all to have more money than you could ever do. Money is awesome. Okay, I love earning money. But what's best when you're doing what you love and loving what you're doing, when you're constantly having a vision so much greater that is pushing you up. Entrepreneurship and business is about transforming you. And every year you're going to be challenged in business. But not everybody should be in business either. Like, one of the best things I did was I was a great number 2 before I became a great number 1. I learned so much about business, so much about myself by studying my mentor like a scientist. There's nothing wrong with being a great number 2. Some people should be in business. Other people should be, you can earn millions and millions being a great part of the business where you're a great number 2. You got to get to know you. So when you're going after it, don't go into business to earn money. Earning money is going to be the effect of doing great work. Solve bigger problems, you're going to earn bigger money. Solve little problems, little money.
All right, Arash, this is our last one. You've worked with clients who've had potential, but they've stayed stuck. What have you seen that they're just unwilling to raise or unwilling to change?
They never decided. They never committed. The treasure is always in our commitment. Why for 3 years did I not do anything? Because I never committed. When you decide, this is what I'm doing, no matter what, that's when it happens. But truthfully, my clients don't do that because I coach the hell out of them. So if they're not committed, I will tell them. And I will say, and I will give them exercises to do. The only reason people are not committed is because they don't think they can do a thing. We've got to change the picture we have of ourselves. If one person can do it, anybody can do it. So somebody may not be committed in a moment, but then they get committed. It's one moment of commitment that changes your whole direction of your life.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Arash. And everybody turn on their notifications because we will be doing more lives.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.